Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. Happy New Year. I'm so freaking excited. It is now 2019 and this is my first video of the year, so I hope you're all looking forward to it. In this video today we are doing a really in-depth review of latex prosthetics. This is a method that I've created over the last 2 years of just a lot of trial and error, so I really hope that I finally gathered enough information to help you guys today to be able to create this at home nice and easy and cheap. This is number 4 of my Gore Guide series and I'm loving it so far. It is so good to go in depth and really teach you all that I've learned. I created this Gore Guide series because I wanted all of you at home to be able to learn all different techniques to do with special effects, whether it be a certain product or material or method. I wanted you to be able to do it at home nice and safe and to really explore different creative avenues. This video is designed with all skill sets in mind, so if you are a beginner or you don't know much about special effects and you just want to click onto this video to give it a watch and learn something new, then please don't worry. I'm going to start from the very beginning on how to make a latex paste and run you through the whole sculpting process. I really just want to jump in because this is something I'm very passionate about and I've really tried my best to make this video easy for everybody at home to watch and learn from, and hopefully you guys create some awesome prosthetics with this video. So please, if you do, don't forget to hashtag me on Bonnie.Corban SFX or at BC Showcase, because I love seeing your work and it means the world to me that I've been able to help you guys in any way. So thank you so much. I hope you enjoy. Let's get started. This is episode 4 of my Gore Guide series. I really enjoy these videos because I get to go super in depth with a certain product or method. Today we are creating a full face zombie prosthetic and I'm going to share with you all of my tips and tricks that I've learned along the years on how to make this the easiest and simplest way so you guys can follow along at home. To begin building a prosthetic, it's ideal that you work off of a face cast. Now if you don't have one of these, I have an in-depth video teaching you how to create one. Or you could also use a mannequin head if this isn't available to you. So to start out, I'm creating a base of liquid latex. I'm applying thin, multiple layers to really build up that area and cover one of my eye sockets because we're going to be applying a popped out eye effect. So to create a prosthetic, I like to use a latex paste. Now the best way to make this is to always put your liquids in the bowl first. That's going to help you really mix it and get a consistent batch so that you don't get as many lumps and clumps. I like to use a regular all-purpose baking flour, but baby powder works just as well and they're both around the same price. I mix that in slowly and surely until I get the consistency that I'm after. Make sure that you don't have many lumps in this, but you can't really overwork it. If you mix it too much, it can get almost rubbery and start to dry. To begin the sculpt, I'm applying the latex paste straight onto the cheekbones and really building and sculpting those first. I find it easiest to work with my hands, but if you have a thin liquid latex next to you, you need to dip your tools and fingers into this as well, and then start to gently massage and smooth out the surface. That's going to give you a perfect edge. I also recommend using small batches of liquid latex paste. Because it has a thickener in it, it will dry a lot quicker and create lumps. It will also discolor and start to go yellow and rubbery, so working in small batches is going to keep it nice and fresh and smooth. It'll blend out a lot easier and the consistency should hopefully be quite similar throughout the whole prosthetic. This way you'll definitely waste a lot less as well if you're only mixing up exactly what you need. Now if you're struggling with getting each side symmetrical, it is quite hard when you stare at something for too long. I find it easy to turn it upside down. Start to look at it as more of a shape as opposed to a facial feature like cheekbones. Changing up your perspective is a nice little trick to really get it even. If you don't want it to be absolutely perfect, that's fine. It is a zombie, so it doesn't have to be exact, but I like to get it even because this is a zombie Santa, so he's going to have some nice big rosy cheeks that are also quite sunken in. If it's starting to get a little bit sloppy, you can go in with cotton wool balls and also use that to sculpt certain areas that you can't just get the paste to work with, or if your paste is starting to get too soft. Because the latex paste is quite heavy, it can start to slide off of your prosthetic if it gets too built up, or if you apply too much thin latex over the top, it can just become a really sloppy mixture. So I like to use cotton wool balls to give a little bit more stability with certain features of the face. Letting a prosthetic dry is one of the most important steps, so when I get about 50% of the way through, I like to lock it all in place and let it dry overnight. I'm going to go through the pros and cons and the 2 different ways that you can let your prosthetic dry and set. I recommend doing it overnight, but you can also do it in a microwave in 10-second intervals. So to start with the pros of drying overnight, it's going to give you a really soft and flexible product. It's hassle-free, you literally just leave it on the bench for a few days and it should be perfect. You can pre-make it well ahead of time. and it's going to give you an overall comfort and movement to the prosthetic. The latex won't go hard and rubbery, it's going to keep nice and soft and be very movable on your face when you apply it. Some of the cons of overnight drying is that it can just simply take too long, anywhere up to 2 days depending on how thick and bulky you've built up your latex paste. This can cause it to grow mold if it's left at a hot temperature or if it's left out for anywhere up to 3 or 4 days plus. The gravity could also just make it slip and slide off the prosthetic, so ensure when you're making your paste that it's not too runny. And then lastly, you do need to make this quite early in advance, so if you're a last minute sort of person, this is not going to work for you. Some of the pros of drying your prosthetic in the microwave are that it just happens so quickly. Essentially, you could just put it in for about 10 seconds at a time and it's going to cure and bake the latex immediately. So that means that you can continuously keep sculpting and pretty much complete it all in one day or even in a few hours. Another great thing is that you can set it through each step. If you've done a really nice nose, you can set it and zap it in the microwave, or if you like your cheekbone and you're happy with it, you can just set it immediately and then you know that it's safe, that your work is intact, and then you can add to it as well if you want to build up something a lot larger and bigger and you're worried about that drying time. Sadly, something this convenient has to come with a con, so drying in the microwave has a few. Mainly, it's just going to give you a bit of shrinkage. It could possibly make the latex dry out if you dry it too much or if you're continuously zapping it in the microwave. It could also darken the latex in color and become a deep yellow. This is going to give you an overall tougher latex that will be less flexible and give you a lot less movement when you apply it to your face. So the comfort factor isn't there, but that's just for you guys to decide. If you are drying your prosthetic in the microwave, it's also important that you're not applying too many different elements or textures. For my dragon look, I created so many different things and added so many different materials on my prosthetic that there was no possible way to dry it in the microwave. So I think all up, that prosthetic took 3 or 4 days to dry. And once you add things like polymorph plastic, you really can't be putting that back into the microwave, even though they take quite a while to become clear and soft. You don't want to take that risk, so I applied air drying clay, jewels, gems, stones, polymorph plastic, acrylic paint. I even had masking tape and lots of different crazy elements in this look to really bring the prosthetic to life. So these are all things that you can do, but you have to keep in mind once you start going this far with it, you definitely have to leave it to air dry, and that's not a problem at all. You've just got to decide that ahead of time, so you have plenty of time to make that choice and apply it on the day that you need it. So to complete the zombie prosthetic, I'm going to create a bulging eye just using one whole cotton wool ball and lots of thin latex to saturate it and shape it to the way that I want. One of the best parts of a zombie is the teeth and mouth. Now in this video I actually created a zombie Santa, but I wanted to go more in depth about how to create your zombie gums and exposed teeth. So I will have to take you back to an older video of mine. This one doesn't have the quality, but it has the rough general idea. So I'm going back to this pinup zombie that I did I think in 2014. Wow, time flies. And what I'm doing here is mapping out the mouth area and starting to apply liquid latex and cotton wool balls all around it to get a really ripped up gum, and of course that's going to expose all of our beautiful teeth and give us some nice rotted flesh. To create my zombie teeth back then I used fake nails. Now I just buy like these acrylic teeth off of eBay, but if you don't have access to those you can of course make the fake nails look a lot more realistic. I just didn't exactly have the skills back then, but I'd like to think that now I do, so I might actually do a recent tutorial using fake nails and showing you the difference between them and the acrylic teeth. Okay, fast forward to 2019, we are back. So I'm now taking my zombie Santa, and as you've seen, the beard and moustache covers so much, which is why I didn't bother creating the ripped up gums for this look. But using those techniques I just showed you, you could easily apply it onto your prosthetic face. I'm then going to take a slightly thicker latex, and that's going to hold my teeth in place. I purchased these off of eBay I think, and they're only about $8. It's a whole entire pack of fake teeth, which are perfect because they are so realistic and creepy. But if you want to do a zombie, you can of course use the nails and create more busted teeth that aren't so perfect, so it's definitely up to you. I went ahead and just laid a full set of teeth down. Now is also the perfect time if you decide on cutting your mouth open, so indent that with a pair of scissors in between so you can eat, drink and breathe. Not all prosthetics obviously need to be open on your mouth, but this is just for a safety precaution. While it is ideal to have both your mouth and nose open, you can of course just have the nostrils clear of air so that you can breathe, but I recommend always having both options available. I finished off my zombie by applying some really funny eyebrows because I was laying crepe hair over the top later. I let this dry for about 4 or 5 hours until it was completely smooth on the surface. It wasn't dry through to the core, so what I did was I wrapped this in cling wrap and stored it in my fridge for about 3 or 4 days. That let it dry and cure all of the way through. It kept it nice and soft and moist, and then when we applied it to the face, it was really flexible. This is also the stage if you want to apply anything crazy onto your prosthetic, like jewels and gems and air drying clay and all of that fun stuff like polymorph plastic. You can go ahead and do so. Then it is now time to remove it from the face cast. The easiest way to do this is by taking a translucent powder, a baby powder, or even just flour, and dusting that heavily over the top and then starting to peel it up by the edges and working your way through to the center of the face. Be as gentle as you can with this part because we are almost done, and I would hate for you guys to rip or tear it. It does help if you apply lots of those base coat layers like we did at the start to create some nice thin edges for blending. Once you've got that off, you can now powder it down. I took a large fluffy brush and just removed any excess, and also put this on the opposite and underside of the prosthetic to ensure that none of the little edges are going to roll up and stick together. As a final step, you will need to go ahead and cut out your eye and breathing holes. So I only had one eye for this look, and then my mouth and nostrils as well. This is what the completed prosthetic looks like start to finish. I'm now going to cover and show you guys how to apply this to your face, and then towards the end of the video I'm going to give you so many different shorts of many prosthetics that I've made to give you inspiration on what you can add and what materials you can use to really customize this and make it your own. Of course, we covered a zombie in this video today, but there are so many different fun things you can do with a full face prosthetic or even a half face prosthetic as well. I refrigerated my prosthetic. I had it in there for about 3 or 4 days before I went ahead and applied it. So just to keep it nice and matte, I repowdered it before application to make sure that it wasn't sweaty or wet. I then went in with a glue stick. This is just a non-toxic school glue stick, and I'm going to start flattening down my eyebrows. That's going to protect all of the hairs today from any adhesives and make sure that they are safe. Once your eyebrows are dry, you can then go ahead and measure your prosthetic to your face and trim it accordingly if you need to. Mine fit pretty perfect, so I left it as is. One of my older methods of applying and adhering a prosthetic to my face was a little bit different to how I do it now, but I still think that both of them are great, so I wanted to include it in this video. I used to use liquid latex, so if that is all that you have and that's what you feel comfortable with, then you can definitely go ahead and use it. What I did was I would mark out where the prosthetic line went to, heavily apply latex to that whole entire area, and then I would give it a little bit of stability and grip by ripping up and tearing up cotton wool balls and applying lots of latex onto the top of that, and also inside the prosthetic as well. Letting that dry a little and then firmly pressing it down into the face, sealing off any extra edges that needed to be glued down, and then going in and blending the rest of the prosthetic with either a latex paste or liquid latex and cotton wool balls. Depending on how large your prosthetic is and where you need to blend it into the rest of your head or body, this is definitely an option for you. I'm currently just using Telesis at the moment, which is a brand of spirit gum, and I'm going to apply that thinly all over my entire face. This is what I've been using to apply lightweight prosthetics. I think that it's easy, it doesn't irritate my skin, and it really gives a nice hold. I can wear this prosthetic for hours and it won't peel off my face. So whether you use Prosthetic, spirit gum or latex, ensure that you don't apply any of your adhesive around your eye socket area. It's very unsafe to do so and it's not necessary, so just leave that out and avoid it completely. Take your adhesive and apply that all over the inside of your prosthetic and also onto your face as well. To ensure that your spirit gum has the best hold, make sure that it is tacky before application. I like to tap it to see that it is nice and sticky, and then I press the prosthetic firmly from the center of my face outwards to get the best hold. Sometimes apply a little bit of pressure and just let it sit for a few minutes, and then once you think it is all ready to go, you can start blending out those edges. Liquid latex is a plastic product, so it blends out best with its own self. What I like to do is apply latex around all of the edges, and if you need to, if it's a bit bulky, apply some cotton wool balls, rip them up, and then blend them down into the skin as well. As I said, if you have a larger and bulkier prosthetic, you might need to use a latex paste. That used to be my go-to and preferred method. My newest and favorite method now is using skin tape. I purchased this from the drugstore and the chemist. It's about $2 a roll, and it is a medical tape safe for the skin, so it holds on bandages and things like that. It is not irritating and absolutely works perfectly for blending out edges, whether they are thick or thin. I like to use this now. It is so much quicker and easier in my opinion. So I pop a few of those all around the edges of the face, and then to make sure that my makeup will apply evenly throughout the whole prosthetic, I like to seal that with about 1 or 2 layers of latex, just to ensure if we apply, for example, a cream paint, that it's not going to have a darker and more absorbent texture on the bandage. Make sure that it is all latex so that way it applies perfectly from the prosthetic down into the skin. Blow dry that to speed up the process, and now you can paint it however you like. When it comes to applying products and pigments on top to colour your prosthetic, there isn't really anything that hasn't worked for me personally. If I'm using a water-based paint, I apply minimal amounts of water to get a very thick and dry pigmented mix, and that's going to sit very well. You can then blend lots of eyeshadows and grease paints and eyeliners over the top of that. If you're having trouble with any sort of a blood sitting well, it might bead off and pool in certain areas, you can apply dish soap into your liquid blood, or lay down a scab blood first, and that's going to ensure that it sticks well to the prosthetic. But yeah, that is all of the tips that I can give you guys. If anything isn't working, apply a cream first, or maybe just powder it down to get more of a matte grippy surface. So that is the completed look at my zombie Santa. Now this whole prosthetic tutorial so far has mainly been about him, so I'm going to say goodbye to my zombie and go on to some other prosthetics that I want to give you information about. I wanted to also include Courtney's prosthetic in this video. We did a collaboration of Mr. and Mrs. Claus, and I really enjoyed how she did her two separate pieces. Courtney created an eye piece which she glued down and blended into the skin, and also a mouth prosthetic. I thought it was quite clever because I've recently just been doing full face ones, so there is also options when it comes to things like that as well, which I quite enjoy. So I hope you guys have enjoyed this zombie portion of the video. Now it's time to say goodbye to good old Santa, Mr. Claus, and move on to something bigger and better in my opinion, which is definitely my mermaid look. This was by far one of the biggest, most elaborate pieces that I ever created, and I would really love to share with you from start to finish as well, but in a quicker sense, on how I created this whole face prosthetic. I ended up cutting it up for application, but I created it in such a different way that I felt like it was necessary to include. I really like this mermaid look because I incorporated about 5 or 6 different layered pieces and blended them all into the skin, including a set of ears. I have a separate video which goes really in depth on how to create the ears, and this whole tutorial as well has its own video, but for reference I wanted to show you guys some other options when it comes to making a latex prosthetic. So when it does come to a prosthetic, you don't have to sculpt everything out of a latex paste. I like to sometimes pre-make prosthetics and then stick it on top of my base once it is done. So what I did here was used a non-air drying clay, which is very oil based, and sculpted out a whole entire bunch of these scales. This took me hours. I did literally multiple of them, and I ran and casted them all just with regular thin latex. Once I had all of those nice and dry, I then powdered and removed them just like any other prosthetic that I would, and then you can either layer these directly straight onto the skin, which I did for the whole neck piece, or you can even apply them onto a prosthetic face. These are really lightweight and flexible, as you guys can see, because we didn't microwave them, so that is just one of your other options. I then cut that down to size and glued it on top of my prosthetic when I was about midway through and blended it in. This is a really cool way to incorporate lots of different things, so that's why I wanted to quickly touch on that. I then removed it and then cut this up into several pieces. I did that mainly because I wanted my lips and my eyes to be very glam with heavy makeup, so I didn't want a prosthetic covering them. I ended up just cutting up the pieces that I needed and applying and blending them down into the skin, and of course back then I didn't use skin tape, so I just used cotton wool balls. But I think it's really cool to see as an artist how much you can grow and learn from, even just in the span of a few months. Now, to finish off this video today, I want to quickly discuss my octopus prosthetic. If you didn't know, this was actually the first ever prosthetic that I made after I created a face cast for myself. So this was definitely the biggest stage of trial and error for me. I had no idea how big and crazy I could go with this, and this is what we ended up with. A glow-in-the-dark UV octopus that was sitting on some coral that I also created. There is a whole entire tutorial on how to create this on my channel, but I just wanted to briefly cover it to sum up this video and show you all of the different options that you can do. I've showed you how to do dragons by applying jewels and gems, and mermaids by creating scales and ears, and to finish it off I used some backing rod to create an octopus, which is just a lightweight foam, and I applied some wire through there to get it all bent and tentacle looking, and I pretty much slapped it all together with latex. And this is probably one of the craziest, I don't know, like stepping stones in my career as an artist, because it was me trying something different and I ended up finding my absolute passion. I would definitely have to say that creating latex prosthetics has now become my favorite thing, just because you can be so unique with it and apply so many different layers and materials and products, and I just think that this is something I'm going to love and continue to do for a very long time, which is the purpose behind me making such an in-depth long video today. I wanted to give you guys as much information as I could so that you could all get inspired and start to create your own unique pieces just like this one. The octopus prosthetic that I made for the Face Awards has by far got to be one of my favourite looks that I've ever done. It was the first prosthetic that I ever actually made once I created a face cast for myself. Now, I still actually have it here, and this is what it looks like. It was by far one of my biggest achievements to this day, and at the time it was very unique and crazy, and I still think that it is definitely one of my favourite looks. I just had an idea and a concept, and I really wanted to roll with it, and that's what I ended up with. There's just so many possibilities with latex that I haven't even tried yet. You won't know if a method is going to work until you try it. I even created a whole head prosthetic, which was my final look for the Face Awards in the second year running. So this is my full head prosthetic that I created for my final Face Awards video, and I don't think I've ever actually shown you guys on camera other than the final video that it actually starred in. This is by far one of the biggest and hardest things that I have ever created. Again, I had a concept and I just tried to run with it. These are made out of styrofoam, and all of these bits here are polymorph plastic, and the whole thing is painted with a mixture of acrylic and body paints. Sadly, I didn't film this process because we were under such a time restraint, but I do have lots of different photos which I can show you in this video as well. But yeah, that was the whole completed alien look, and I applied this to my friend Nicole. It was a concept in my mind that I wanted to create this crazy alien with all of these different shapes and techniques. I sculpted the face of this alien on my face cast, and then I transferred it to a mannequin so I could do the whole back of the head. But my main goal and concept for this was just to have an absolutely massive, scary, textured looking alien with lots of teeth and spikes and vibrant colors. That's it, guys. That is the end of my video. I hope you all enjoyed this tutorial today. I know it was really lengthy, but I hope you learned something cool. If you did, please give this video a very big thumbs up. It helps me out so much. My main focus was to show you guys the start to finish process of how to create a latex prosthetic and lots of different techniques that you can incorporate to make it your own individual look. I tried to make this simple and easy, but if it's a little bit like a school project with all of the graphs and stuff, I'm sorry. That was just the only way that I could think to get it really nice and easy to explain. So it's a little bit of an art project, but this video is something that I'm proud of. I did take a really long time to make it, and I really hope you enjoyed it. Don't forget to comment down below if you have any further questions, if there's anything I've missed in this video, or is there something you want to just ask me about to elaborate a little bit more. I would be happy to do so. If you're not already, please don't forget to subscribe down below and tick that notification bell so you get a notification every time that I upload. Thanks for listening to me talk. I hope you enjoyed and learnt something, and I will see you in my next one. Bye, guys.